but he's lived in the U.S. for quite a long time. He painted his first car at the age of 13, and he moved to the U.S. to Huntington Beach, and that's where he met Boyd Coddington and Chip Foose, and was inspired to start his own business. The first business was Custom Rod Garage. He's been on several TV shows. He's been on American Hot Rod. He was the build manager of the A-Team on Overhauling, and that's probably where you might recognize him from. He now has a shop in Huntington Beach called California Speed and Custom. And he also has another shop in Arizona where he's spending time back and forth between the two. And as you can see, the banner behind him, he's guest host on a podcast, OBS Talk. And he has a great C10 truck that he's built that looks really cool, and loves talking about trucks with everyone on that podcast. So Mark, I'll let you take it away and tell us a little bit about what you've been doing lately.
Thanks, Dale. And yeah, that's a pretty good history. It's been a fun. I've been in the U.S. for 12 years, so it's been a lot of fun, and we've done a lot of cool things. And right now, this year has been kind of difficult for everybody, but luckily for us, the stuff we build, nobody's really too affected by anything that's going on, because when you're building high-end custom cars, you're not really, those people they're not using these cars to go to work on Monday. So, we've been lucky that way. So we're building some really cool cars right now, mostly of the pro touring style cars. Like, we're doing a Nova and a Camaro and a Mustang, and a bunch of the OBS Chevy trucks. We actually got 4 of them in here right now, but unfortunately those are all mine and they're not customers. So I'm kind of trying to split that time up on those, and not having SEMA this year was actually a little bit nice to have a little bit of a break. So we'll be geared up. We'll have 2 trucks at SEMA next year, so that'll be good. So we're just building cars, and we're just hiding out in the shop and building cool stuff and trying to come up with, I work a lot with Steve Stanford, the artist, and I give him a rough idea, and then he kind of fills the whole thing out for me, and then we build, and we're just so fortunate. We just feel lucky because nobody needs any of this stuff that we're doing, and we get to have a lot of fun. And even though it's been a very difficult year, we just kind of come in here and lose ourselves in these cars and trucks. So I feel very fortunate.
So it sounds like you work on a lot of 60s and 70s vehicles, and then you take them and make them street ready for with all the things so that they can drive them on the street today.
Right. And what I do basically is I try to take a car, like we're doing a 66 Nova right now, but it's got a brand new Corvette motor in it, and it's got all late model suspension and air conditioning. But I build the car in a manner that you don't see that. When you look at it from the outside, it looks like an original car. So we're trying to hide everything basically. So this one has steel wheels with hubcaps on it, which people, and they just walk right by it, but meets the 550 horse LS7 in it. And the air conditioning's hidden, and the cruise control and the Bluetooth, it's all hidden. You don't see any of it. And so that's what I really like to do. I like to try to make it look like we didn't do anything. But then when you fire it up, like I want it to fire up and people from 10 feet away turn around, because I just thought that's just a car sitting there and it doesn't look like anything. So, and then on the other side of the spectrum, we've got like, I don't know if you saw the truck I did for SEMA last year, I did a Beltec tribute truck, and it's a 95 Chevy short bed, and it's just crazy. It's got the magenta paint and teal, and it's a recreation of the original truck, but that's a truck that's in your face. Like you can't hide in that truck. Like I don't even drive it because I put it away after SEMA last year, and I'm going to take it out next week to go to Dino's Get Down in Arizona. And that's the only time it's been out, because it attracts too much attention. And it's kind of the opposite of what we normally do. I like to make things look like I like to heavily modify something, but make it look like we didn't touch it. That's always the goal.
Yeah. Has that always been your MO?
I think we've morphed into that a little bit more. Like, when I started, I was, obviously I worked at Boyd Coddington's shop, and I was friends with Boyd, and that was the most devastating thing ever with him dying, because he was my idol in the car business. I just loved his look, and his look was smooth and simple. And, he had that old saying where you start at the front of the car and you look to the back of the car, and nothing should catch your eye. You shouldn't get halfway and like, oh, where'd that mirror come from? Or oh, where'd that door handle come? You know, like he did everything in a really classy way, and less was more. So that was my original style, but I didn't want to just copy what he was doing. And they didn't really at that time try to upgrade stuff to later model conveniences that we had. So, you know, because there are a lot of show cars and stuff like that. So I kind of morphed it into being able to give somebody all the modern features. Like we put window cranks in. It looks like a window crank, like you'd normally crank a window up and down, but it's not. It's electric. You just push it an eighth of an inch and the power window goes down, and you pull it back and it goes back up. So when you look in that car, it doesn't have billet switches or plastic switches. It has the original steel 1966 Nova window cranks, but they're operating power windows. So I just love that kind of stuff. So, and there's other people doing it, and you know, we're not originators in that by any means, but it's how you package the whole thing together. We're trying to put a package together that when people look at old cars, they're familiar with them. So when you start putting late model stuff into them, you know, it kind of loses the appeal, and then it gets very opinionated very quickly. So it's always nice if you keep it the way people, it's like paint colors. A lot of people, you know, you'll see a 55 Chevy and someone's painted it, you know, 2020 Jeep colors, like, because the Jeeps have some cool colors, and even any of the Dodges actually have all cool colors, but those colors don't necessarily always look right on a 1950s car.
Right.
So we tweak them around a little bit and play with them and stuff, but we try to keep it in the vein of that. And so somebody might think that it's, you know, a little bit easier route, but it's not. So, okay, I see a question coming in from Kevin.
Yeah, here, I'll go ahead and read some to you. There's one before that for Bill asked, how many trucks have you built?
Oh, trucks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good question. I think, I count right now, I think we're at number 11. The one I'm doing right now is, yeah, I believe it's 11.
Okay.
So,
and yeah, Kevin asks, what's the shop name in Arizona? He lives in Arizona.
well, Kevin, you're going to be shocked by this. California Speed and Custom. It's the same name.
And you're in Lake Havasu.
Yeah, we're in Lake Havasu, and yeah, and it's still California Speed because it's too difficult. We have like we actually have a very fortunate. We have a very prosperous merchandise line. It's a small line, but it's done very well. And on the California Speed side of it, hats, shirts, and limited edition prints from Steve Stanford stuff. So I'm not interested in changing the name. So we're just keeping it California Speed. So it's a lot easier and for my bookkeeper too. She's a lot / wife is a lot happier with just one.
Bill's question, what do you like more, the body stuff or the power plant?
I would say body. I do all my own mechanical work, like, you know, brakes and putting in motors and transmissions and all that stuff. And I do that myself, and I like doing it. But to me, I still like the body and paint because I come from that, and there's always that big transformation when you paint a car where, you know, it's a big transformation if you change a motor too. But like, to me, the visual part of painting a car and just going in the booth and laying color on it and having that go from something that the average person can't really see the end of the tunnel, and then you have something really cool looking. I really like that. Like, that's so paint for me.
How much of the work that you do you do in-house? Kevin asked, you know, the drivetrain, the interior, everything. How much do you do in-house versus someone else?
We try to do 99% of it. So we don't ever, it's going to sound weird, but I don't let a car leave here. We don't do our own upholstery per se, as far as stitching the seats and that kind of stuff. But our upholstery guys actually come to my shop to put the carpet in and put the headliners in. And we don't let the car leave. The car never leaves. So anybody that has to work on it has to come to me. And so the upholstery guys will come and do that. They will take the seats and go somewhere else, or maybe door panels and dash back to their facility and bring it back to me. But I don't like to let a car leave, because I'm paranoid about cars, you know, leaving and being in other people's shops, even though they're fine, you know, and everything. So a lot of it, it stays right here in the shop.
Okay. And Jerry asked, how long is the average build?
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is not a good answer. It's all about your finances. It's all about the customer. Like we have customers that come in and like our cars are, we've been able to get into a situation where we're building nicer cars and they're a little bit more money. So, you sit down with a customer and you can roughly estimate what a car is going to cost and give them kind of a basic, and then you have to talk to them and find out how much they can spend a month, which will dictate how many hours we can spend on it. So maybe a guy can spend $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, or maybe a guy's unlimited. He can spend whatever. We've had that too. So if you're unlimited, we can build a pretty nice car in about 12 months. But if you start tapering it down, you're gonna start going into the 14, 16 months. But really try to keep it down into the 12-month ones, because it's hard. When you think about a relationship with a customer, you're building a relationship and you're going to see that guy for a year and he's going to spend a couple $100,000 or whatever it is. There's not a lot of situations or jobs where you have that kind of situation going on where you're constantly in contact with when you think about that, like, you're not in contact with somebody weekly for 2 years. That's, it's a lot of work, and it's tough to do. So I like to try to get it down to, we can build a really nice car in a year.
Okay. Jimmy Ross is on and texted me a question for you. He said to tell you hello. And he asked, is that C10 your daily driver?
Oh, the green one? The green 73? No, it went to SEMA in 17, I think, or 18. I can't remember. 17. Went to SEMA in 17, and I'm just trying to think now. It's probably got 100 miles on it. What the thing is, so this is another thing that people are going to think is odd. So that truck is patina, obviously. That truck is original paint. I bought that truck from the original owner, and I am scared to death to drive that truck, because if I build you a truck and I paint it and you get into a collision or something happens to it, I can just repaint it. That truck has never been painted, ever. And the patina on it is absolutely perfect. It's like, we've been accused of it being fake and all kinds of stuff, and it's not, it's real. And we documented that. So that truck I'm super paranoid about, because if something ever happens to it and I have to paint it, the whole premise of the whole truck has just gone out the window. Yeah. So I don't drive it. And it's crazy because it's a 73 truck with original paint, like, but I love that truck.
So tell us a little bit about the OBS podcast.
Oh yeah, so this is a cool thing. So, it's a culture of, so OBS stands for Old Body Style, which they named the 88 to 98 Chevy trucks were extremely popular right from the minute they were released until the end of 98. In 99, they deemed those trucks Old Body Style because there was a new body style truck that came out. So that's where the name came from. I worked at a GM dealer when all that was happening, and they were called CK trucks and GMT 400s. But for some reason down here, it stuck with OBS. So my good friend Ronnie Wetch owns C10 Talk. And so for the last 6 years, he's been doing a podcast on the C10 trucks. So the 73, well, I actually did all of them all the way up to 87. So he did that, but I always liked the 88 and up trucks because those trucks were customized. Boyd did them, California Street Rods did them, Pete Santini, all these guys, all these famous builders built these trucks in 88 brand new, and you can buy them off the lot, and they were already customized. So I've always had those trucks. So Ronnie came up with the idea of as we all get older and we all move forward, the truck market's moving up. So C10s used to be affordable, and they're not that affordable anymore, where, a $2,000 truck now is $10,000 or $12,000. So they're moving up. The whole thing is shifting forward into the 80s, as it is with Camaros and Trans Ams and stuff like that. Where as we move forward, everything's moving with us. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to do the podcast, and we thought it'd be really cool. The podcast is great because there's all these people that we've been able to interview that were in that scene back then when those trucks were brand new and they were hot rodders and they were getting stuff done. So we have this great big mass of people that are enthusiasts that are dedicated to them. And so we're basically what we're doing is documenting that. So we have different guests on that have these trucks, and they've had different, parts manufacturers and stuff. And we're documenting the history of these trucks as we move forward. And we're bringing in a new group of people, because younger guys right now, you can still buy an OBS truck with air conditioning and power windows and everything for $5,000-$6,000. So the entry level price on those trucks is still really good, and the trucks look good. They're cheap to lower. You can put wheels and tires on them. You've got a good looking truck really quick. So it's been a lot of fun. We've just had a blast doing it, and it's good for me because I've loved those trucks from day one, and that's kind of my era.
How often is the podcast?
Every 2 weeks. There's a new episode every 2 weeks. And we have another co-host, Travis Nowak, and he was the editor of Sport Truck and Trucking magazine in the 90s. And so he does one, then I do one, and we flip back and forth. So there's a new podcast every 2 weeks. So mine just dropped last week with, I believe you know him, Charles from Speed is the New Black. That was on Velocity. And Charles is a great guy, and he's an OBS fan, and when he was 19, he bought a brand new one and custom painted it. And he's doing a Tahoe now, for two-door Tahoe for SEMA. So really cool. Like it's a little bit of a side cult, I guess you could call it, because all these guys, especially in Southern California, these guys had trucks, and they had hot rods, 32 Fords and 55 Chevys and stuff, but their everyday trucks were OBS trucks. And when those trucks became so popular, they could actually have a really bitchin' looking truck and go with their hot rods. So it was really a whole era. It was really cool.
Hey, we had a few more people join us. If you have a question for Mark, go ahead and do it through the chat, and I will read it, and Mark will answer your question. So thanks for joining us. And again, this is all part of the National Auto Body Council Rides for a Reason virtual car show presented by LKQ. Mark will be judging the truck category, one of his passions, and so we're really thankful that you're able to do that and help us out. And that goes until November 13th. So anybody can enter that hasn't entered already for $25.
Perfect.
So let's see. Clint is a truck guy, and Clint said he is. Let me say, I'm starstruck. I can't believe I'm talking with Mark. He said, "Do Ford trucks deserve some love too?" Asking for a friend.
Okay, Clint, nice to meet you. It's great to see you. Thanks for participating. It's awesome. The Ford trucks, I love them. At some point, I will own a Lightning pickup, one of the early ones, not the. Geez, I don't know the technology on the later ones, but what do they call the
Raptors?
Yeah, so I'd like to have one of those. And my second choice on those would be 69 or 70 short bed 2-wheel drive pickup. So those are great trucks, and they're coming up. And we have a F100 podcast now with different hosts, obviously. So so there's a podcast devoted to those Ford trucks, and I like them too. They're a little bit behind on the Chevys, obviously, just due to population, I think, back then. But what a great truck, and especially now you can put a Coyote in one. You can do all kinds of stuff, and they're great.
I have my 1990 entered into the virtual car show, Mark. So eventually you'll see it, and it's got its own patina also. Living down south, but I'd be interested in what would be the first thing you would do to it if you had it? And please don't tell me you'd sell it because it's a Ford. But it's a 1990 short bed, single cab, V8 automatic, body straight, and really haven't done much with it. And what would be what's your first reaction? I'd do this to it.
First thing I always do, believe it or not, is lower it. Boom. It's got to go on the ground. It's got to go down as low as it can possibly go and be drivable. No airbags. I'm not an airbag guy. Got nothing against airbags. We've got one airbag truck in here right now, and it's driving me crazy. And so I like a static drop. I'm from the old school with, Fat Jack, Little John Gutera, Boyd. You make the thing sit right and it looks good. So to me, you can take almost lot of vehicles you can take and you can slam them on the ground and put a set of wheels on them and they're going to look bitchin'. So that's always my first step.
Thank you.
Clint, you get one warning. There's no influencing the judges.
Yeah.
I'm not influencing at all. I'm just saying I got a car and I wanted expert opinion now.
Well, I'm not an expert at anything. I'm still learning. So
really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Mark.
Oh yeah, no, this is great. And I'll go on I've been checking the site, so I'll go on and take a look at your truck after we're done the Zoom call. So that'll be cool.
All right. Any other last questions for Mark? Mark, we really appreciate you taking the time. We're going to put this is being recorded, and we're going to put it out on the website for anybody that couldn't make it to watch live. But again, for those who will be watching this, please enter your cars, your bikes, your trucks at the virtual car show. It's the National Auto Body Council Rides for a Reason. It's nationalautobodycouncil.org. It's for a good cause. They do the recycled rides and give them away to deserving families and veterans. Many good programs that you'll be supporting with only a $25 donation to enter your car. So it's a lot of fun. We'll have great people like Mark doing the judging, and it's a chance to do something good and have some fun with it. So Mark, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. And make sure you listen to Mark's OBS talk every 2 weeks. How do they get to that?
Any podcast platform it's broadcast on. So, iTunes, Spotify, on your iPhone, there's a little podcast icon that comes up. Just type in OBS talk and it'll come up. So it's pretty easy to find. And then you'll see our other pods in there too. There's the F100 pod. We actually have a Dodge pod too, the D100. And there's 6 people listen to that. It's great. So,
I've listened to the one with Shorty, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah, that's everybody. So I'm getting a little bit of a bad rap on this podcast deal because that I did Shorty and Charles and Pete Santini. So they're saying that I just want to do painters.
Yeah.
And I said, but they're all my friends, and the best part about those podcasts is there's another hour of podcasts you didn't get to hear. So we'll release that at some time too. So we had a lot of fun, but thanks everybody for participating and logging in and your questions and stuff. No, this is great. I had a great time.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.